Hi, Srinivasulu. How are you?
Yeah, hi Shiva.
Hi,
Good
good
morning.
evening.
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for your time for us. Okay, so we just gone through your resume and it is pretty well, and we feel like it will match to our requirement. So we just want to validate technically also. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, so we have Roshni here. So she is our technical panel. Okay, she will
Okay.
cover the technical questions, and I will be monitoring that. So start with your introduction and help to understand us like what you are and what is your experience so far. Yeah, so that we can pick
Okay.
our questions from that.
Yeah, sure. Hi Roshni. Good morning.
Hi,
My
Venkat.
name is Srinivaslu. Uh, I have total 6+ years of experience in both manual and automation testing. My total my experience it is leading to the automation mostly related to 5+, and most of the my projects are like with the Selenium using Java in my first organization. Later I worked on some of the manual projects as a training, and later I have worked with Selenium with C# as well. And apart from that, I have some knowledge on API project as well with the REST-like using C#. Apart from that, I have some basic knowledge with performance testing, and I'm good with the Postman as well.
That's good. Sure. So, can you tell me what are the domain you are familiar with?
Okay. At the starting project which I worked, it is related to mobile. Yes, it's like mobile development framework related. And it's like a drag and drop application. Like previously, how it will be if we have to design something, we have to write the code for that. But this
Yeah.
framework will help us to drag and drop. Like if I want to drop down in my application, I will just drag and drop the drop down here, and we will assign the just name for that. So for that, we used to test like how the drop-down functionality is working, how the text field functionality is working, like that. That is the one of the framework. And later, I worked with some of the manual projects. That is, one is related to ServiceNow and one is related to security project. For automation projects, I worked. I have good knowledge with the ERP domain with distribution.
Okay. So you are so only the ERP domain you have so far.
Yes, yeah.
Good. So as I understand, you also have experience on mobile as well as web applications, or it is only mobile application.
With a mobile application, I have like it's a 6 months only, but I can't say it's fully worked
Okay.
because our project started with the mobile and web, and
Okay.
later what they decide like okay, I'm assigned to only web project. So at starting like 5 to 6 months, I worked on that. It is in starting of my career. I have
Okay.
have knowledge on bits and pieces, but I'm not fully into the mobile. I'm fully into the web automation.
Okay, sure. So you have mentioned that you have experience on this Java and Selenium. So can
Yes.
you tell me for Java, how much you would rate yourself out of 5?
Out of 5, I can rate 3.5 on
That's
Java.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So what about the OOPS concept in that again?
Oops concepts like it will be start with object and class. Like if any real-time entity, if we take that one, we can call it as a object. And
Okay.
for that object, if we need the structural representation of that object, we call it as a class. And later, like it, we can start with inheritance. Like if one property of one class one, like using in another class, we can use the inheritance concept. And we can say that abstraction, if you want to show only unnecessary details, like if you want to if I don't want to show the technical details to the clients or end users, so I can hide them, like we can use abstraction. And when it comes to encapsulation, we can wrap the private details with the public members, so we can call it as a encapsulation. And polymorphism, when it comes to polymorphism, we have two types of polymorphism. One is mobile method overloading and method overriding. Mm, like method
Sure.
overloading, it can represent like the functionality of that method is like name of that method is same, but the functionality is little bit vary based on the method structure, based on the arguments.
Yeah. You can
And
stop there. No,
yeah.
no, you can stop there.
Okay.
So basically, you have also mentioned the Selenium.
Yeah.
So tell me how much you would rate yourself out of 5 with Java and Selenium, as well as with C Sharp and Selenium.
I can, like with the Java and Selenium, I can rate myself as a 4 out of 5,
Great.
even though more, because my career starting with the Java Selenium, so I'm pretty good with that. And yes, I started with the Selenium and C Sharp. I brushed up some of the things which are not present in the Java. So I just use the same concept like how it is used in Java. So I can rate like 3.
Good. Okay. So let's come to this Java and Selenium. So
Okay.
let's start beginning with, I like to start with the Java
Mm.
because that is a basic thing we would, look for.
Mm.
So Java, you tell me,
Mm.
what is this, overriding?
Okay. When it comes to overriding, like in the base class, we have some method. Like if I take my framework example or something like that, at the high level, like at the base class, I have one method saying that, okay, um, mm, we can say, I can take the example of something. Okay, I can take real-time example as one. At the bank level, we have one method saying that interest. So
Okay.
at the base class, it should be like at the bank class level, it's the interest rate is going to be something like, okay, all the banks should maintain some 6 or 7 interest rate.
Some
But after that,
standards.
what happened? Like if some other banks will come and approach that, okay, with these rates we can't approach the like we can't proceed further. So we'll say that, okay, our bank maintenance are high and we are providing high real security to the client. So we are saying that, okay, we'll take more interest. Otherwise, like, okay, we are helping some other person, so we'll take less interest. So based on their interest, it will be changed. At that time, they just override that existing method and they will provide their own method.
Okay. So can you, override the final method?
Final methods can't be overridden.
Okay. What about a static? Can you
Static
override static
methods.
method?
Static methods, I did not write this concept, but I can't say that we can't be override, because when it comes to static, we can say that we will use a static like it is comes to common to all the objects. So
Okay.
like if it is a common property of that object, we can't say that like we can override. But I did not write in real time. As per my technical aspects, I'm explaining this.
Okay. So can you tell me what are the new feature or extended feature you see in abstract class after this Java 8?
Uh, After Java 8, I did not work anything much. I
Okay.
worked till Java 7 or 8.
Okay. So
Yeah,
can
actually, I
you
knew
tell
that
me?
in Java 8 we have some lambda expressions which are newly introduced.
Hmm. Hmm.
After the stream class is also there, but I did not go through all that. Like still Java 7 and 8. I'm good.
Okay. So tell me what is this map?
Okay. Uh, when it comes to collection, map is a separate base of collection. It is contained the key value pairs. So if you want to
Okay.
store something as a key value pair, okay, I will call the key, but I want the value as well. So if you want to store anything like that key value pair, we can use the map.
Okay. So can this map hold null values?
Map can hold the null value. Yes, single key value is null. We can store one single value.
Okay. So in Java, can you tell me what is this, dynamic errors or dynamic exceptions
Uh, Dynamic errors or dynamic exceptions.
or runtime? Okay.
Okay,
Runtime
run.
exceptions.
Yeah. So one-time exceptions, we can say that like if I provide some value, like I have written some code that is technically correct, but
Okay.
the logical reason might be having some fault, but syntax will not catch that. So at that time, like when executing, it is having some, it will throw some exceptions that will cause like runtime exceptions. For example, like mm, if we take any example like mm, uh, okay, this one. While Selenium, like if I provide any object or something, like if I say, okay, I have created a WebDriver object, everything, syntactically everything is correct, but the object is not initialized. That driver object is not initialized. So at that time, we will get like WebDriver exception. Okay, that will come at the runtime. Like while we are executing only, we will get that. Like when it is compiling time, we will not get that exception because syntactically it is correct. So like that, if we have not only with Selenium, we can say that like with the Java also we have runtime exceptions.
Okay. So can you tell me why do we use this getter and setter?
Getter and setters, as we communicated earlier, related to encapsulation, we can say that like, okay, there are the private members. When we say private members that are stick like, okay, it is specific to this class, we can't use them outside, we can't modify them. So if I want to modify them, okay, at the time we can use the getters and setters. Like we can use the getter to read the object, we can use setter to set any value to that object. So at the time we are not exactly modifying the exact value of that one, we are just setting and again resetting.
Okay. So can you tell me what is this for each loop? Which one
For
is better according to you? It is a for each loop or the normal one which we initialize and then route to?
actually, it's not like which one is good or which one is right. As
Okay.
per my understanding, uh, for loop will use when we know, okay, we need to use from this limit to this limit.
Okay.
And okay, if I want to do +1, I can use I plus plus. If I want to use +2, I can use I plus 2. Like the same way, like if I
Okay.
have to use for each, that is inside the loop, I have to specially mention, I have to do, okay, I plus 2 like that.
So
So
basically what you're
syntax,
saying is when you want to iterate and you want to control the iteration.
yes.
Hmm. Okay, good. So let's go to Selenium now.
Okay.
So in the Selenium, can you tell me what is the language we're using there for a scripting?
I used Java at starting of my career. Later, I used C#.
Okay, so that is a language, but what do we call that as? There's a name for the Selenium scripting, right? Any idea?
Uh, Selenium scripting means I was not fully getting your question. Could you please repeat me?
So there is something called Selenus. You are
Uh,
right. You are doing a coding with Java and the
yeah.
C Sharp,
Yeah.
right? But for the entire thing, there is a name that is Selenus, right?
Okay, that I was not knowing.
Okay. So what are the locator you know in Selenium?
Like in Selenium, we have 8 types of different locators. Like
Okay.
we can start with ID, name, class name, and XPath, CSS, and this linked text and partial linked text,
Okay.
and
So can you
tagging.
tell me, yeah, sure. So tell me,
Hmm.
uh, it's little difficult, try to explain why,
Hmm.
because this is a telephonic, right?
Yeah.
So I want a syntax, or how do we write a syntax for following sibling?
Okay, following sibling. Uh, if we don't have, like, if I want to go for specific element, but
Hmm.
that element doesn't have any unique properties. Okay, but if I take, okay, this is an input tag, but this input tag doesn't have any I, uh, unique properties, such as ID as a unique or name as unique. But the input tag is present in the div container. The div container is having some unique element like unique ID or something. So first I will go to that unique ID, div slash, like I provide the ID equal to some value. Later I will use slash, and I will use following hyphen sibling.
Hmm.
Again, I will use double colon, and I will use input tag, and whatever the value, like if it contains something which is contained, like if it is only input tag it is contained, I will just use the till input. And if it is having more than one input tags, I will try to check is the any value is there, like any property or any attribute is there. Even if it is not there, I will directly use index at the last. Index is my last option to uh, describe as a uniqueness.
Okay. So, can you tell me, like, you don't want to do any of this and you want to use only kind of text identification,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
in your XPath. So what is the best approach you would follow
For
based on
text
the text collection?
identification, yeah, for text identification, there are two things. Like
Hmm.
when we are doing with the text identification, sometimes we are missing with the white spaces. So I observed in some of my projects, sometimes like when the developer change, they will miss with white spaces.
Hmm.
So if my project, okay, even if it is a little white spaces, I'm not worried about because it will not show any difference in the UI. If
Hmm.
that is the case, what I will do, I will just use the contains method in my XPath.
Okay.
I will start with slashes, star, and braces contains method like at the rate. If I'm using any attribute, I will use at the rate. If I'm using text method, I will use text as a method braces, comma, I will use the value. So
Okay.
if I don't want, okay, even if it's a white spaces, I would like to know what is the change. At that time, I will use text equal to. When we
Okay.
are using contains, we are differentiating with the comma. if we are using text, so we need to use equal to.
Okay, good. So in Selenium, okay, what are the exceptions you are aware of?
Yeah, exceptions like as I mentioned earlier, it's a WebDriver exception, and
Okay,
in my application we used to get some alerts.
okay,
So like uh, if alert, like if I thinking okay alert should be come, so at that time if alert is not present, we'll get alert. No, there is something. Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I'm give me a minute. I'm just recollecting.
Hmm.
Um, alert not found. Alert related. I'm not getting currently. Like we had some exceptions related to alert,
Okay,
accepted alert, like that, and if it is comes to like when we want to, I mentioned one element, but it's wrong. It's not present in the DOM. At that time, you'll get okay element not found exception, and
okay.
uh, okay that is alert not found exception. It
Okay.
is related to alert,
Hmm.
and this
For the
alert.
mouse, that
Yeah.
is okay.
Okay.
So for the mouse related, right?
Yeah.
Mouse
Actions.
actions and all that.
Yeah.
So which class you would use?
Actions class.
Okay. So what is context click here?
Contextless is a right click, like in the mouse operation, what we used to call as a right click. In the Selenium, we
Okay.
used to call it as a context click.
Okay. What is the difference between this find element and find elements?
Okay, like if I say, okay, in my web page, if I want to find only one element, I will use find element. But if I want to get like, if I want to get multiple elements, I will use find elements. And the one more main difference which it is find element will give the no element exception.
Hmm.
But when we use the find elements, even if the element is not present, it will not give any exception. It will just
Hmm.
give 0.
Okay.
Yeah, and find
Any
element
idea
will
what
depend
would
on.
happen if you try to utilize that zeroth one only?
Sorry, I'm not getting.
Okay, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
consider like there are no elements
Okay.
and your array is little zero. I
Okay.
mean, kind of no length. Then
Hmm.
what is the error you would get if you try to use the same, further for a click or whatever? What would happen actually? There is no exception, I agree. But
Yeah.
what would happen in idle's scenario? Any idea?
Ideal scenario, like when we use a find elements, it's a list of
Hmm.
web elements we used to get as a
Hmm.
return. So when
Hmm.
we use a list of 0 dot click, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
so uh, I did not get this in real time. Like as per my understanding, like we should get like um, should
Okay,
not be any
consider
exception. Like
now that element actually present, okay? The
okay,
whatever element or elements are actually
mm,
present. Then
okay,
any idea, you might be somewhere little, making a delay or whatever. So what is
mm,
the way you would approach to have that as element to be tested? Like how you will make
yeah,
sure you are testing that?
okay. Like if the element is taking time, I will try to
Hmm.
use the weights, Selenium weights,
Okay.
for that matter. Like if I have to say my application is delay, like okay, this application is bit slow and it is
Hmm.
early starting of the development. So early
Okay.
starting of the development, no one will care about the performance. So at that time we can use uh, implicit weight because most of the application is slow. So I don't want to use weights any places. So if I use implicit weight, it will be like lifelong for the driver object. So
Okay.
later once this okay application is good, like performance is improving, but in some of the web pages or the dropdowns or the alerts or some of the windows, it is taking so much time. At that time we can use explicit weight for that specially designed, like okay these dropdowns will take time. At that time we can use explicit weight for that elements with the accepted conditions, and we can have the fluent weight as well, but fluent weight we rarely use. It's the same as explicit weight, but we used to do the continuous polling.
Okay. So can you tell me how do you create, object for uh, Chrome browser?
Okay, there are two things, like one is we can directly download that
Okay.
Chrome driver, and we
Hmm.
can assign, okay, we have to set the property first. Once a
Okay.
property is set, uh, like uh, property set, like using chrome dot webdriver dot chrome dot driver equal to the path of the chrome driver, and
Okay.
later we can use webdriver driver equal to new chrome driver, and it's good to go. And one more thing, like if sometimes, okay, the WebDriver Chrome driver is all going to change, at the time we can use the WebDriver manager for that. So actually when we are using in C sharp we can use the NuGet packages. So when we are using NuGet packages, we don't need to set the property and all, we can just download the NuGet properties.
Okay.
And with the WebDriver manager, we don't need to update every time. It will go and search into the web and it will download at the time it is running. So,
Okay.
but in our project, we did not use that one, but we thought to upgrade this in current.
Okay. So can you tell me what are the two ways of assertion in Selenium?
Uh, Two ways of assertion in
Assertion.
Selenium.
Hmm.
Actually, Selenium does not contain any assertions.
Okay.
So we need to use any third party, like based on the flavor, that assertions will come. So
So how you want to approach this?
like, as I mentioned, Selenium will not support. So Selenium is a tool to automate the scenarios, but we need to use some framework to organize our test cases. So at
Okay.
that time, like we can have for Java, mostly we use TestNG, and for
Hmm.
that, like we have added some more methods to the TestNG, and we called it some Unity framework from in our own company. So it's like upgraded version of TestNG like that.
Okay. So what are the two ways you did did
Yeah.
not tell
Okay.
me? No,
Yeah.
even at least in
Like
the
there are
test.
two things. One is uh, assertions, and one are hard assertions and soft assertions, we can say. But
Hmm.
as I mentioned, we did not use the soft assertions in my project, but I
Okay.
have basic knowledge on that. Like
Okay.
when we have the soft assertions, it will not the execution will not fail. It will continue till end of the test case and it will fail. And if we
Okay.
use the hard assertions, like it will fail wherever the condition is got failed.
Okay. Yeah. So with respect to Selenium or
Mm.
whatever,
Yeah.
entire project,
Mm.
which report you are aware of? This report.
Uh, which report, like in my first organization, we have used uh, test engine reports only. We did not use any
Okay.
other. And in
Okay.
later in my second organization with the C shops, we did not follow any reporting mechanism,
Okay.
because when we are working with the C shop, like based on my project, we used
Hmm.
to have that reports dot some XLD file will come, so we can
Okay.
use that one for reporting purpose to share with any stakeholders, and that it will contain everything from the test case name to screenshot path, and where it got failed, the stack trace, everything it will be there. So
Okay.
like the framework has to be like needs to be improved, but still we are working on the add some of the regression test cases. Once it is having something, so we need to work on some uh, upgrading our framework.
Okay. Okay. Well, so I also see that you have good knowledge in jerking language and the
Yes, yes,
spec flow
yeah,
of
yeah.
this BTD. Can you
Yes,
just
yes.
explain me about the spec flow with jerkin?
Uh, like when it comes to spec flow, like the BDD, we can say
Hmm.
behavioral driven development. So for that we have used in C sharp. With the C sharp we have used the spec flow. So in the spec flow, what are the feature fields we are writing? We are using Gherkin language on that. So in the
Okay.
Gherkin language, when it comes to it will start with the features, and when the feature is there, like it will come with the scenarios,
Yes.
and each scenario will contain, okay, it will be having the high level English language with the Gherkin codes, like, okay, given
Hmm.
some statement, and
Yeah.
when, then, and these are the four keywords which we are using. Even with the scenario, we can use the scenario context as well. Like when we are using scenario context, it is the same as how data driven will work in TDD, though the same way it will work in BDD.
Okay.
So in
So
like
here,
when we are using scenario context, we are having examples, like how many times the test case has to be repeated.
okay. So when you say this, is it something very similar to cucumber?
Yeah, it's a cucumber only, but in C sharp we
Hmm.
used to say the spec flow.
Okay. Yeah. So
The
can you
tool
tell
name
me
is
what is
different.
the, yeah, yeah. What's the difference between scenario and the scenario outline?
the same thing which I explained. Scenario it will execute only once, but scenario outline will execute like in examples how many we provided, that many times the scenario outline will be executed.
Okay. So any idea how do you group your test cases here? Because I see that you have worked as a functional tester as well as the regression test,
Yes.
and maybe you might have done the sanity and smoke and all that, right? How do you group these test cases?
Actually, in C# we can use the tagging. We can use @ and we can provide some regression and smoke test.
Okay.
So based on that, we can differentiate.
So, like you'll have to tell me, just mentioning, for example, you'll just mention this, this is at regression.
Yeah.
And how do you make sure, that is my point, right? Like, I want to know, how do you make sure that only the regression test suite is going to be available for this, sprint or whatever? How do
Okay.
you make sure? That's what my question is. I agree. You're
Yes, yes.
grouping it and you're tagging it. Where do you
Yeah.
mention this? How do you make it?
Actually, in C# also we can use that. Like if you have to use specific, okay, I have to run only specific this. How we are approached is like we have used a test runner. Okay, so when we are running with the test runner, like we used to pass that. Okay, we have to run only this specific tag. So like because why we are passing that one as an argument, because we are integrated with the Jenkins. So if we are when we are integrated with the Jenkins, we can't change the XML every time. So like for that reason we used that one as a tagging purpose. So like internal framework design level I did not work, but I have added like the common methods and all.
Okay, no problem. So, can you tell me, in your hybrid or a data-driven framework, I agree or I consider that you would be using this pom.xml?
Form.xml.
P-O-M, pom.xml?
I'm not able to recollect.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked like with the Java. I
Then
worked
I
on
would
like
like to
almost
know what is your project
12 years.
structure. That's okay. Can you tell me your
Yeah.
like latest project structure? You explain me.
Okay, like I can explain my current project on. The framework which is developed by some of the developers from the US, like because its application is specially designed in C# in such a way that like our application is contains some structure. Okay, it is having almost 2000 windows, and each window will contain the number of tabs, and each tabs can contain form and a grid. When I say grid, it is like a tabular format. So, and each window is having like a splitters, like some windows, very rare windows, it is having single window as a form, and most of the windows it will be having the upper window and lower window. Mostly upper window will have the form, and lower window will have the grid, like a table format. So, like the framework will structure like this is the framework which is designed in the C#. So it will start with some of the utility methods, and utility methods in such case we are using in our test case we are using, okay, when I create some order, like as I mentioned it's a ERP domain, when I created some order I wanted to make sure that order is created successfully in the database as well, and I want to compare with the UI value. So at that time, like for validation purpose, we use the database. So and we for the database connection we have used SQL helper class. In that SQL helper class we have two different methods. One is related to execute scalar
So
and
I'll stop you here. Give me a minute. So I would really want to know, like, when you say this application or when you say this your framework level, right? Can you just explain me, like, do you have something like this, where the package created for so and so, these packages created for so and then what basically makes that, you may how you're making sure that, you have the latest software or latest APIs, for example, this is Selenium packages are available. So that level I want to know. I mean, how do you group how do you make sure that the elements are sitting under one package? Is that way it is?
Yeah.
Or it is, individual interest that just making this project?
It's not like individual interest, as I mentioned, it's like we are using page object model as well, but as I mentioned, it is like the structure of that one is same. So at that time, how it will happen, the page objects will be common with some of the classes, like, okay, window class, the window class is having all the properties and each and window is having. And when it comes to, like as I mentioned, we have like one banner also there. Banner class is different, and within the banner we are almost having the same type of properties, like save close or clear the order or clear window, and some other related to specific windows, and which are having the ribbon, we have that. And later when it comes to tab, even in the tab is almost like, okay, the tab will come with, okay, window dot tab name. So in the tab class we used to have the only tab name, tab object. So again, like within the tab, we have two separate classes. One is form and one is grid. So like again, form and grid having separate classes. So that's why when I say the framework which it is having, it is related to application specific.
Okay.
So like page objects will be different. Like, okay, if I create, okay, orders page. So in orders page, I will just provide the, what is the element, okay, order number. I will just provide what is the key, like what is the ID for the order number. So this order number will go and interact with the first order number, and it will go and append with the form ID and the form ID dot order number. Again, it will go and append with the tab, okay, tab dot form ID dot order number. And again, it will start with the window. So this is
I
the
see
structure
that,
it is.
you're more likely working with this Windows, Windows,
Yeah,
basically. I mean, the pop-up kind of
yeah,
window or
yes,
the
yes,
tab and all.
yeah.
So is it something like, the, Windows pop-up it is?
When I say tab,
Desktop
it's
pop-up
not
or something like
browser
that?
tab, it's a application tab. It's not
Application
Windows
tab.
separate tab. It's not browser
Okay.
tab, it's application tab. In the application, when we have some tabs, right, okay, this is a form window, this is a grid window. Like
You
it,
should be like, having this something like
yeah, like,
maintaining or, identifying the form IDs and then continuing.
yeah, that's what I mentioned, right? Like each and every form is a difference. Like when the form object is creating,
Yeah.
whatever value I passing, that will go and assign to that form object. So each
Okay.
one will go with the object class. Like when I say order class will contain all these values. So
Okay.
from here it will go, okay, what is the form it is assigned, what is the tab it is assigned, like that it will go.
Okay.
It's a bit complicated to explain verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So I see that you have good experience in Agile. So can you
Yeah.
tell me what is triage meeting or defect triage meeting?
Uh,
Do you go through this actually?
Actually, we did not follow that much agile projects as I'm in
Okay.
automation team.
Okay.
We used to have like attend. We used to take daily calls,
Okay. So,
and
okay,
we used to check
let's
with,
stop there.
yeah,
You have a daily,
yeah,
the
daily
call
calls.
every day.
Yeah.
What are you making sure in that 15 minutes call actually?
We used to discuss.
Consider like you given a time and your
Yeah,
like team is maybe like 6. So
yeah.
what is that, you're making sure from your end?
From my end, I will make sure like what I worked on yesterday and what
Okay.
I'm going to work on today.
Okay.
Yeah, like mostly we used to have two calls. One is the daily call, and another one for automation purpose. We used to have like evening 4 o'clock. We used to have separate call. In that, we used
Okay.
to discuss. We if we have any challenges which we have to discuss, or any
Okay.
code reviews which we have to take. So
Hmm.
because code reviews also we used to take as a team, because each and everyone should know the functionality of that test case. Even it will
Okay.
not rely on any. It will not give any dependency. Like even if I opt in, uh,
Okay.
someone can review my test case, or even if it is failed later, they know that like what it got changed.
Okay. 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 So we are good here. I mean, we have covered almost all the, your
Mm.
work areas and all that.
I have few questions,
Mm,
Roshni. Can I take it?
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Srinivasalu. So when you say you will be having the agile methodology, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm a project manager, okay, and we
Okay.
have a release of 2 weeks of time, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the developer developed and moved to test, and you tested it, everything fine. And last minute, like Friday is our release, okay.
Mm.
Thursday there was some additional enhancement came, and the developer hand
Okay.
over to you, okay. There
Okay.
is very
Yeah.
tight schedule, and
Yeah.
yeah, you did that your part, and you found some issue that you reported
Yeah.
back on Friday morning. Okay.
Yes.
So project manager is pushing you and the developer to move that without like it's kind of exceptional, even though the error is there. Okay, it is not a major
Mm.
error to like it's not a showstopper to move the things to production. So that time,
Okay.
as a
Mm.
test, okay, what is your role? Like it's a lead of you are a lead, right? Test lead, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
as a test lead, how you control the situation?
Yeah, here my situation will be based on two things. One, I will check, okay, is the error is newly, like is the bug which is newly introduced in this
It
current
came
sprint,
from the
or it is there
enhancement.
from
It
the
came from the
previous?
enhancement that they given us. Like I
in the current sprint.
current
If I'm
sprint,
correct,
and
yeah.
yeah, we
If it
got
is coming in current sprint,
yeah.
I will try to check what is the effect of the functionality which is because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I say severity is high,
Yeah.
okay, if it is anything to do with, okay, for example, if I take from my project, I'm okay, users are not able to log in, or customers are not able to create the object, create the order. I'm not able to create the customers, and these are the high level scenarios. With this type of bugs, we can't push. And if I say, okay, severity is very less, like something we can say, uh, uh, in the reports there is a small mismatch, like the it is coming in
Okay,
some
let's say
goals
it
like
is
that.
not
If
a
it's
high.
a
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. So
yeah,
it is not a high
yeah, if it's a
priority.
low severity,
I,
and I will check with
yeah.
like project manager or project owner. Okay,
Okay.
this is the scenario which is got newly introduced.
Yeah.
If it is not related to any severity bug, okay, uh, if we can, if the developer is saying, okay, it might take some time to check and fix the bug,
Hmm.
or like if it is having easy fix on his hand,
Hmm.
if he is able to provide that, I can simply check and run one smoke or a sanity test and I can move. Otherwise, if it is taking time, we can just go with the, like if we can delay, we can delay one or day like that. If we don't have to delay, we can proceed with the deployment. We can take it as a production bug.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So this is fine, but like let's say you are handling the project as a test lead. Okay.
Okay.
What kind of preventive actions you can cover in order to control the more errors, more operational errors?
Yeah, preventive errors, I can say that, like the one which we are following,
Mm-hmm.
we used to run automation scripts daily.
Uh-huh.
So by end of the today, like if I have to today builds, like as a US time, when they started, they used to give the builds. So like by this time, we used to have the builds. We used to trigger for whole night. By tomorrow, like before we start our day, the scripts were executed and we have some reports. So when we used to have some errors and we used to compare that.
Hmm.
So because of when we are doing this as a daily habit, we can reduce too many errors. And if we found any errors, we know that, okay, from this build it is getting failed.
Right.
So like if we are doing this following steps and all, we can prevent too many errors.
Right. So let's say last question from my side. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say we are going to get a new project. Okay.
Okay.
That
Mm.
project is completely a new structure. It's not like it is not a Java based. It's not like a Selenium you can use. Okay.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
is altogether something very strange and new where you don't know
Okay.
anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of like a Salesforce. Consider like it's a Salesforce and you have very limited knowledge on Salesforce. You know testing
Okay.
side, but you don't know much of the platform level. Okay.
Okay.
So you
Yeah.
have only 2 weeks of time or 1 week of time. So as a
Mm.
tester, what are the things you need to focus to be ready with that particular requirement or a project?
Okay. Like if I have to take that project immediately, like a takeover or something, I will try to check uh, with the current tester or someone from the team. I will try to take, okay, what is the daily activities are going. So first I will try to understand whatever the daily activities are going. I will take a handover on that. I will try
Consider
to
like it's a
understand
new
that.
project. So it is a brand new project. Even the developers doesn't know what they're going to develop, and the platform that it is a very pretty new for you. So that
Okay.
case maybe.
If that is the case, like if it is a completely coming to new for me, as I mentioned, Salesforce is a newly entirely new to me. I will try to do some groundwork on that, like
Hmm.
what is a
Yeah.
Salesforce, how it will work,
Yeah.
what is the use in real time, how we are using that. If we are using that, how many times, like how many types we can use that.
Yeah.
If we use this way, how it will help to our project. Like I will come up with this type of question and I will try to explore on my own,
Right.
and I will try to come up with some ideas
Right.
on that.
And maybe the last one more last question. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the best quality a tester should have?
When it comes to testing, I don't have any perspective. It's like a thought process.
Mm-hmm.
If your thought process is well and good, and what you are doing, how you are doing, what you are doing, and how you are doing, it's good to go as a tester. It's from my end. Like I don't have any, like I don't want to
Like, so let's say,
give any.
now, as per my understanding, you have better control in development concepts and all, right? So,
Hmm.
will you see as a developer, will you see as a tester, or will you see as a end user or someone? Like, what is your thought process when you are validating something?
Uh, my process will start with end user. Later, I will start. Okay, when I start with the end user, I have only limited access.
Hmm.
Later, I will start with, okay, if I'm tester, how I'm going to proceed.
Right,
Later, I will start with the developer. Okay,
right,
while we are thinking as a developer, we used to think, okay, uh, what if I use this symbol? How it will work?
right.
So might be testers might not get that point, but while a developer point of view we might get, because if we are like providing that, okay, this field, if I say, uh, for example, bank account number is there. If I use at the rate, it should not validate that.
Hmm.
Okay, the field should not have at the rate. If we don't have control on that at the back end or front end, if we try to pass that to like database, something might be broken. We are not sure. Like this type of things will come when we thought about the developer point of view.
Right, right, understood. I think we are pretty much good with questions. Roshni, you have any questions, ma?
No, Sridhar,
Uh,
I'm done.
okay. Yeah. So Venkat, do you have? Yeah, Srinivasu, do you have any questions to us?
I'm good.
You are good. Okay. So fine. Thanks for your time. And Roshni, you want to give the feedback of this interview now? Overall feedback, maybe how you felt technically,
Yes, I'll tell you.
please.
Yes, he has a good, the candidate really have a good experience. I would say that we could see the experience overall via questions,
Yeah.
whatever we have asked. And yes, he is good in terms of at least Java and all that, the concept. So practically, when I say like why? Because if since it is just the audio call,
Yeah.
we still not sure, how well he can think logically
Yep.
when we give questions based on the program.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe yes, I see that he could answer about every sort of bit and pieces of the Java thing we asked, but practically I would say like. You should be ready. I could not cover which I want to mention this, Sridhar.
Yeah.
I did not cover with you this, string and all that,
Right. Maybe
right?
we can
So
have a face-to-face
yes,
interview
yes,
as a second interview.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
That
yes,
way we can
yes,
give some practical things to control. But yeah,
yes,
fine. So
yes,
on overall, you are good, right?
yes.
Right, good. And yeah, I think pretty much fine from my side also, Srinivasulu. Your communication is good, and your like the way of answering is controlled and matured. Your communication good with respect to understanding the question also. So yeah, appreciated. And I think we are done with our questions, and that's it. So we will get back to you, Srinivas. Okay.
Thank you, Shravan. Thank
So
you,
thank
Roshan.
you, thanks. Have a great day, and thanks, Roshni. Have a great time. Okay. Take care.